So greetings everyone. Welcome to Monday, the 3rd of February, the snowpacked day and the snowpacked week of the snowpacked month so far of 2014. I know y'all are just so happy to be here tonight. Right?
Always.
Always, Cody? That's a cheap answer.
Hey, at least it was an answer.
All right. Here we go. My clicker decided it didn't want to work. All right. Well, welcome to MIS. Or shall I say ISA. The book is MIS, right? Y'all have it? Have y'all read through chapter 1 and 2?
Skim.
Skimmed? All right. Yes. Well, I didn't lecture last week. It was syllabus day. So, catching up on lectures. So, chapter 1 lecture will be very quick and very easy, and then we'll really discuss chapter 2. Cool, Bill? Cool deal? All right. Information technology, what is it? What is it?
That can't break down.
I am not going to read to you. I don't want you to read to me. All right. Basically, it's a vehicle that will transport to and from, right? Well, security is the new big subject, right? And is now been replaced with the term information security, as y'all are well aware of. Now, information security is no longer the sole responsibility of just one or two individuals or a small group of people, right? Everyone is responsible for securing your data. Every department, every section, every person, especially the managers after Sarbanes-Oxley, right? What did SOX Act make it do? Made CFOs, CEOs have to sign the financial statements at the end of the year saying, this is what happened. Otherwise, they go to jail. There are three different ways, or three different types of people. You have the business managers that know absolutely nothing about IT. That's 95% of what you're going to face. Those are people with MBAs that had nothing better to do than waste money and make more money than you. Information technology managers, people like myself that have been in the information technology field and then have become managers. Those are really your IT leaders, the people that were leading groups and things of that way. Then you have information security managers, like really myself, that really like to focus on security and protecting the data, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, y'all are out in the field, come on. The InfoSec community, how big is it? Pretty good size, right? Especially lately after the Target breach. You know, how many more people are... We face threats on a daily basis. Not just at home, at work. Think of risk management. We take risk every morning. As a guy, you get up and you say, okay, I'm going to shave. Am I going to cut myself on the face? That's a risk, right? You put a razor to your face, you can cut yourself. Especially the one blades, you know. Never mind. IT community. Basically, that's a supporting group of everyone else. And then you have the non-technical people. Bueller. Okay. Those people, those are your non-technical people. People that give out information. People that you can socially engineer. Hi, Brett. What? Talk up so everyone can hear you.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How was your weekend?
Not bad.
What'd you do?
Not bad.
Not much.
No.
Did you You go anywhere? You go fishing?
No, I went and saw a movie.
Really? What kind of movies you watch? What was the name?
Survivor.
Survivor?
Lone Survivor.
Lone Survivor. I hadn't heard of that. What's it about?
It's kind of sort of behind enemy lines or trying
Is it kind of like an action
to.
flick?
Yeah.
So you really like those action type movies, right?
Yeah.
Cool deal. What was your favorite action movie?
Saving Private Ryan. That was
Saving
all
Private
right.
Ryan, man.
You're saying too much.
How quickly did I get information out of him, right? That's like a phone call. Hey, I'm Scott from IT. I'm going to give you a call. I would need your username and password so I can validate that you weren't hacked. Hello? Anyone with common sense would say, click. 95% of your secretaries, oh, okay. Well, my username is, hang on, let me pull my drawer out so I can tell you. Well, you told me everything I needed to know. Let me look under my keyboard. Let me look at under. Let me move this sticky note on my monitor here.
Is it horrible that your IT manager is one of those people that takes the new guy they hired seriously has a whole list of that?
Firing.
Wait,
I'm serious. If I'm your security auditor, and I come by and I find a password on your desk, you're fired. I don't play around. It's kind of hard to fire my boss, though, who's the CEO of the company that's hiring me to do the security audit, you know. So, anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit later on, right, Cody?
yeah.
All right, definitions. Security is defined as the quality of state of being secure, free from danger. Was Saving Private Ryan secure? Do what? I can't hear you.
He was not really scared.
He wasn't really secure. He was out there in the war zone in Germany. Is that where it was? Austria? It's been years since I've watched the movie. So, specialized area of security. You have OPSEC, physical security, communication security, network security. Any other types of security? What about application security? What about mobile device security? Information security is the protection of information and its critical elements. The CIA triad, right? Including the systems and the hardware that use, store, and transmit information. Any device that can use, store, and transmit information needs to be secure. Policy and training or weapons that we can use to prevent these kind of incidents from occurring. So your goal as an ISAer this semester is to write the security policy, right? I told you to write, you're going to write 120 pages. You all looked at me like, I'm not going to do that. Yes?
Which of the three are we supposed to write? The enterprise, the different.
That's up to you. I told you 12 domains with 10 subcategories. What are there? Well, how many of you are familiar with the CNSS model? Y'all ever seen this before? You have information security, big umbrella, right? You have computer security, network security, management of information security. Then all of them are intertwined into what area? Policy. How many of y'all have had Prof. Dewey's class? It is in Eileen. Raise them high so I can see. A couple of you have had policy classes. CNSS model focuses on a couple different things. Number one, the CIA triad. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What do they mean, Kelly?
Confidentiality. The confidentiality is knowing that
It's the protection of the data.
yeah,
That no unauthorized person has access to it.
integrity is that knowing that who the person says they are is who they are.
It's confidentiality. Integrity is that the data hasn't been changed or altered.
Okay.
Availability is who has access to it at what time. Do they have that need to know? Okay? It's now been expanded to more comprehensive list. How many of you know the AAA, right? I'm not talking about the insurance company. I'm talking about accounting, authorization, and authentication. Those are starting to become the standards, but people use different variety of AAAs. How many of you have learned about the McCumber Cube? If you read chapter 1, you read about it. Come on. Jeez. All right. What does the SSC security model omit? The McCuber model. Well, it forgets about the detailed guidelines and policies. It looks more towards the direct implementation thereof. Do you have to have both? Yes. Because when I come to audit you, if you don't have your policies, guess what you're going to do? Fail your audit. Because you have to have documentation to support everything you do in a network. Remember, a network is only as good as what you can document it. Here's the McCumber Cube. You have your CIA triad, storage processing transmission, and the policy education technology. Maybe the three-dimensional cube. Confidentiality is the characteristic of information whereby only those with sufficient privileges have access to that information. The need to know. How many of y'all have dealt with federal government before? And they say, you don't have the need to know. Guess what? You're not getting the information, right? That's confidentiality, integrity. The data hasn't been changed. When I transmit the data through that TLS tunnel, has it been changed? Probably not, because unless you have TLS encryption or decryption devices, you're not going to get it. Availability. Do people have what they say they need to have, right? Privacy. Is that data secured and stored to where only those that have the need to know have access to it? Right. You would hope. Identification. Then you get into what's the difference between identification and authentication?
Identification is just giving the person their user ID or gaining a user ID or gaining some kind of way of identifying yourself to that system.
Okay. Elise, what do you think about authentication?
It's basically the same thing.
Is it?
You can have my identification, but you may not be able to necessarily authenticate it.
Yeah. Just because you drop your name badge doesn't necessarily mean that is who you say you are and that you have the privileges to get into whatever. Authentication means you can prove to me that you are who you say you are and that you have that need to know or that right to access certain information. So then I give you the authorization to get that data, right? Accountability. Who is accountable for that data? Who has the ultimate control over that data? So let's talk, now that we understand the basic concepts of the McCumber Cube and this CIA triad, let's talk a little bit about management. What is a manager? Do what?
Somebody who controls the resources of an organization.
Okay. Is it just resources?
Well, resources could be people, computers, whatever.
Okay. What about the different roles that they have? An informational role. They collect, they process, they gather information, make determinations on it, right? That's part of that decisional role as well. Once you have the information, you make a determined decision. Interpersonal. How do I interact with each other? What is a leader? How many of you are IT leaders in your area? Just a couple people? How many of you are a manager? 1? 2? Buckle my shoe? Come on, people, liven up. Okay. We have 3 different types of behaviors for managers. We have the autocratic, the democratic, and the laissez-faire. And I'm not talking about politics. What's the difference between the three, Kevin?
Democratic would be more just like trying to get like everyone's opinion.
Uh-huh.
Laissez-faire would be more just like I don't know who cares.
Uh-huh.
Autocratic, just whatever they say.
I'm the autocratic. This is my place of employment. You do as I say or I'll fire you. That's autocratic. It's a Brendan. Okay? We have two basic management style approaches. You have the traditional management theory, where you have the principles, the training, the planning, the organizing, the staffing, developing, that kind of stuff. Just normal business. Then you have the popular management theory, which is the POLC. Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. I don't like that last word. Why?
Doesn't scream popularity.
Exactly. It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Well, here's the POLC. You have your planning. You set the goals, objectives, strategies, and plans. You organize. You find the resources that you need. You help lead them by motivating them in developing communication between your employees. And then you put out standards, measurements, comparisons, and actions. Right? So between leading and controlling, you actually do what needs to be done. Planning is the process that develops, creates, and implements strategies for accomplishments of objectives. What does that mean? You're planning for it, right? An organization must define its goals and objectives. Why?
Otherwise they don't know.
People don't get off track.
You don't get off track. You got to know where you're going, right? How many of y'all had me last semester when I told and had to write my 20-page project? What was the first thing I told y'all? In part 1, I told you you had to write it to that organization. Right? You had to write it to what? Their goals, their mission, their vision. You want to put them at the top of the list. Organizing. This is where you get all your resources, you pull your resources together to create that environment. Leading. We're going to lead you through and give you the qualities and encourage the individuals within your group to do something, right? Okay. Controlling. You're monitoring the progression thereof. How many of y'all have dealt with project management? Program management. That's the POLC. Make sense? Does it draw a little? Here's your control process. Flowcharts. Does it? Yes, no, blah, 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 blah. Comes down. You get it, and then you come back around. What is it all about? Solving problems. What's the first thing to solve a problem? You got to recognize what the problem is, right? We have to gather facts and make assumptions. Except I don't like that word because everyone knows what it means. We need to develop possible solutions, right? We brainstorm together. Analyze and compare possible solutions. After we develop a list of them, then we analyze them and see which way we want to go. Then we select, implement, and evaluate. Select and implement it, and then they should put evaluate as step 6 because you really need to evaluate it after you do it, right? Or I guess you could be evaluating while you implement them. So the 6 P's of project management and principles of information security are planning, policy, programs. You've probably heard those many times, right? Protection, people, and project management. Planning. What is it? Preparing. Define the problem. What is our goal? What are we going to do? In this case, we have all these types of plans, right? Security programming, risk management, technology, personal policy, disaster recovery, business continuity, incident response. Right? I do not like the fact that they say security program planning includes IANT. Policies. What is it? It's a set of guidelines. So you have enterprise, you have issue specific and system specific information. Now, when we talked earlier about the different types of programs, like physical security, what else did we mention? Operational security. Application security. Right? InfoSec is really the hat that all these programs fall under. Protection. We use risk management, right? So we have this problem that we had a vulnerability exist in our network and we need to run a security audit. We need to examine our risks to see if it's an acceptable risk for our network or not. Is it if it's a category 1, is that an acceptable risk? No. Category 1 means your system is a failure. Is it category 3? Okay, we can probably deal with it. People. The first thing you do after any type of disaster is what? You check on your personnel. Then project management, basically they just address and process and apply and control the process management. All right?
Is it people, product, possessions, place of business?
Could be.
Something like that.
People are first and foremost. If you ain't got the people, you ain't got nothing. F5 comes in here and wipes us out. How many people got gone? How many people did we lose in the information security field? Quite a bit, right? A lot of years' experience. I'm not going to worry about project management because you really don't need to know it unless you're in a project management class. That's part of project management. Task sequencing.
We don't need to know about project management for...
Not for this. You need it in a project management class, but I'm not going to cover PERT. I'm going to cover PERT, but that's about it. PERT. How do you get from point A to point I? What's going to be the quickest way to get there? Okay, let me ask you. How long is it going to take to do this project?
Depends.
14 days. Right? Wrong?
We asked for the quickest way to hide, and it's ACEI.
Yeah. But,
A and B are going on simultaneously.
right.
along with
Then you have to do C.
D, F, H.
So at 3 days, you're right here. Now, E may only take 1 day, but you still have to do D, F, and H.
Oh, I
But
thought
you
that was
can
like a
do
way
it-
to go. I thought that was like a way to go around doing
E
D,
doesn't-
F, H.
no. Yeah,
Okay.
E doesn't have to be completed until you get to before I.
Yep.
So you can do E at
You can do-
any time
yep.
you're doing C, D,
You
F,
can be,
and H.
while you're working D, F, and H, you can be doing E.
Right,
But after you get done with F, while you're working on H, you could be doing G.
but that only takes 1 day as compared to
So-
H takes 4.
You have 2 days, and 4 days is 6 days. Plus 2 days is 8, 10, 13, 14 days. Why is it 14 days? Because A and B have to be done before C can start. So some people could argue if you didn't do these simultaneous, it'd be 15 days. PERT. It's the most popular technique for program evaluation and review. How long is this activity going to take us? What activity must occur before the other one? And what action must occur right after? How many of y'all have taken discrete? Raise your hand high so I can actually see them. Discrete math. How many of you familiar with the critical path? Y'all remember the critical path? That's all PERT is. That's all it is. Critical path. You get from point A to point Z. What's the quickest way to get there? Covering all the bases. Slack time. How much slack time do we have? You want to fill slack time as much as possible. So if you can do multiple things simultaneous, then do them simultaneous. Make them independent of each other. Make several tracks if you have to. The PERT advantage makes projects easier, compresses them, and they're more fluid. However, it can be awkward and cumbersome on very large projects. Why?
Too many things going on at once.
Yep. Here you go. Here's a PERT example. We started A. We could do whatever this one is. Or D, C, or B. But you have to get D and F done before you can actually go on at G. So what's the critical path? Figure it out. Right? If this takes 6 days to do, this is 3 and this is 2, that means I can get here in 5, but I still got to complete this. So I still have 6 days. Even though this is the critical path to go, I can still take some shortcuts to get this out of the way and this out of the way. That's really all PERT does. Gantt charts. Y'all remember those from the project, don't you? That's a Gantt chart. All it does is say, it takes me 6 days on this one. Now, I have task B and task C, 3 days and 6 days. Well, I can do B, C, and D all together starting on the same day, and B and D can be done while C's still working, and then after that, then I can move it down to here, and I can start on E and F, and then once F is done, if F is done and this is done, if E is not a predecessor to G, then I can start on G. That make sense? Is there any questions on chapter 1? That's why I went through it real quick. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to give you a few minutes. We're going to work in groups. I'm going to assign you groups, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. These 5. These 5. Those 5. And those 5. Works out good, doesn't it? Y'all are going to work in a group. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. You have to work through and design me a PERT document. You have 16 days. Each of you have to do 2 tasks. How are you going to do it?
You have 16 days to do 2 tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Task A and task B.
No. Each of you.
Per person.
Per person.
Per person.
So there's 10 tasks.
Okay. So
16 days.
To do, it's 16 days.
Okay? Out of the 10 tasks. Task 1. is 1 day. Task 2 is 2 days. Task 3 is 3 days. Task 4 is 4 days. Task 5 is 5 days. 6 is 6. 7 is 7. 8 is 8. Okay? So, task 1, 1 day. All right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are how many days each one of those tasks. It has a predecessor. I shouldn't tell you the total number of days. I want you to tell me what the total number of days is. I'm going to make it a little easier on you. There is none, 2, 1 and 2, 3, 5, 4, and 6, 7, 6, 5, 8, and 9. I'll